Justin Trudeau is getting absolutely destroyed in the international community and on social media. And of course, Justin Trudeau is the Prime Minister of Canada who took office in 2015. But the question is, why is he getting destroyed so badly? Well, in this video, we're going to touch on at least a couple of the reasons in terms of why he's getting so wrecked. But we're going to do so after watching this shocking video in the European Union's gathering, where an alternative member from Germany, Christine Anderson, absolutely reams Justin. Take a listen to this, it's shocking, and then we'll try to break down some of the craze that's happening with Justin Trudeau. Here we go.
Based on Article 195, out that it would have been more appropriate for Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to address this House according to Article 144, an article which was specifically designed to debate violations of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, which is clearly the case with Mr. Trudeau. Then again, a Prime Minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this House at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
Whoa! I mean, what a slam! Such a slam against the Prime Minister of Canada. So let's break down some of the things in terms of some of the anger that's surrounding Justin Trudeau. I'm actually going to start with one that's a little bit less known, but it's just kind of an example of some of the heat that he's getting, and quite frankly, for this one, rightfully so. So if you don't know me, I'm really big into real estate, and take a look at this. The Toronto Star talking about $11 million worth of renovations happening to the Prime Minister's official country home. Now, this is not Justin Trudeau's home. It belongs to the Canadian government. But they're spending $11 million during a time of rampant inflation on home improvements when commodity prices and costs to hire contractors are at all-time freaking highs. So at the top of the market, at the tippy top of the market, they're going in, spending $11 million on renovations. And how is that money being spent? Well, I signed in and got a little bit of that breakdown. Listen to some of these numbers, because to me, it's kind of disgusting, especially as somebody who doesn't like spending money renovating real estate. Listen to this. Their kitchen, originally planned to cost $200,000, which I think to myself, oh my gosh, like you could get an apartment for $200,000 is insane. I spend $15,000 on kitchens, and they're really nice IKEA kitchens, okay? I love my IKEA kitchens. They went from $200K on the kitchen to now spending $735,000 on the kitchen. They're spending $200,000 on sprinklers for their plants. And then to make sure there's enough water supply, they're spending another $355,000 on new water tanks. They spent $52,000 for a design consultant just for the kitchen. And now the entire project has ballooned to a cost of $11 million. That's pretty disgraceful. But it's also nominal compared to the other madness that we've seen coming out of the Canadian government. Now, I'm not a Canadian. My wife is half Canadian. Now, of course, the larger portion of Justin Trudeau's hate comes from how he cracked down on truckers protesting overbearing virus restrictions, COVID restrictions, masks, and vaccination mandates, even going as far as arresting truckers and censoring free speech to restore the roadways. Of course, these restrictions were called temporary, but as soon as you start limiting free speech and you start terrorizing your people, forcing them to take a COVID vaccine that is shown less effective than just getting infected with the common cold at preventing COVID, you start getting folks scratching their heads in terms of government overreach. Now, regarding this common cold thing, it's just worth noting that the common cold is caused by 3 primary forms of the human coronavirus. And the latest research that we can find is that the human coronavirus, or being infected by the human coronavirus, protects you because your antibodies can pick up on these proteins a lot better. Getting infected with a common cold can actually protect you better than getting a vaccine. Now, that's not to say that you should or should not get the vaccine. It's to say that you should have the choice. Government's job should be to educate you. Government's job should be to provide you with benefits. After all, that's what we pay taxes for. Not to have our liberties and freedoms restricted or taken away, but rather, hey, educate us. Tell us how an N95 mask is better than just a cloth rag or whatever that we wrap around our head. Tell us about how an N95 protects us and not just other people, but you gotta get the unvalved N95s and not the construction valved ones. Talk about how to properly fit them and how when you properly fit them, this could protect you quite well from catching COVID. But if you don't want to wear it, it should be your choice. If the government wants to give it to folks, it should be their choice. So this is obviously one of the other sort of nails that are biting Justin Trudeau's administration. So you've got Prime Minister's house, which I just think is a ridiculous example. It's kind of a new example. You've got the Freedom Convoy. And then, of course, you've got these 2013 comments that are resurfacing. And I'm going to read you the comment here from Trudeau. Quote, "There is a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime." Okay, pause for a second. Okay, pausing the quote here. This is pretty rough because obviously, coming out of the Great Recession, it was pretty easy to make it seem like things were going great. Here we are, though, in 2022, and what's happening? You've got a massive real estate crisis and bubble in China caused by excessive lending in the real estate space, which is what the government wanted. They wanted one-party rule to work for real estate. It's collapsing. So much so that the Chinese consumers know everything's collapsing around them. And so what are they doing? They're saving 4 times as much money as they were last January compared to this January. That's despite the fact that we're well removed from fears of the pandemic now compared to last January. So you'd expect savings to be higher then than now. But no, savings are higher now in China because people don't trust their government. People don't trust the manipulation of the Chinese government against their technology companies, against their stock market, in their real estate market. And so these comments, the sort of revisit of these Justin Trudeau comments from 2013 are just kind of a bad look because it's like, dude, no. First of all, you're wrong on the economy. Second of all, how about the Uyghurs and genocide that we've got to address? Right? There are a lot of issues here, but let's keep going with the quote here. And, this is his quote again, "Say we need to go green, we need to start, investing in solar. There is flexibility that I know that our government in Canada must dream about, having a dictatorship where you can do whatever you wanted. I find that quite interesting." And see, when you couple this line of having a dictator who can do whatever they want with oppressing people protesting your oppressive regulations, then you start getting this picture of, dude, who do you think you are? And so Justin Trudeau has some real reputation rebuilding to do here. That doesn't necessarily mean his character is one of evilness. I don't expect that it is, but his actions, I don't think are aligning with who he should be for Canadians. I can't speak to who he actually is, but who he should be for Canadians is not this. And I think it's high time for a U-turn from the Canadian Prime Minister. And how about we start with canning those damn renovations?